As far as promoting WCW in Toledo, how did that happen?
They called me, and uh, so I said, "Yeah, I'll do it." They gave me a contract, and I did a pretty good job for them. They were on two TV stations, Fox and ABC, and Miller Beer was paying for all their TV time, thanks to me. And then they told me that here's the way this is going to work. For 4 weeks, we're going to have generic interviews on the tape. And then for 4 weeks, we're going to have specific interviews to the upcoming show in Toledo. So I said, okay. So the first 4 weeks, then came the fifth week, generic interviews. I called them and said, hey, we've got a show scheduled. The sixth week, generic interviews. I'm screaming. I can't believe it. I said, you're not doing any promos. Seventh, and there was nothing. They had promos on the day of the show. They put on the promos the day before, the day of the show, Saturday night. They put on promos for 1 week, and they did 16 or 17,000. I was going around to disc jockeys I know, giving out tickets to pass out, doing everything I could. And the promoter, the arena manager there at the convention center was named Barney Levengood. He'd been in Baltimore, Indianapolis. And he says, usually when it comes to wrestling, the big office complains about the local promoter being incompetent. But in this case, you're 100% right. They're fumbling the ball, and you're doing everything you can to patch things up for them. So the next show, I said, well, we had a bad start. Let's do it again. So the next show, they run, and the same thing happens. No promos. So I'm going on local TV shows, doing everything I possibly can do. And so our second show, then they said to me, what do you think about running Toledo on a Sunday? I said, I don't think so. I don't think it's any good. So anyway, they ran it anyway, and they flopped again. And then Ric Flair comes up to me, and he says, I'm never coming to this town again. And I says, why? He says, because look at you. What kind of a promoter are you? There's nobody here. I says, well, maybe it's the main event. You didn't draw any money. I got to get guys in here who can draw money. Obviously, you're not it. Obviously, the thing was they weren't advertising. It wasn't really Flair's fault, but he got in my face, and I'm not going to run from anybody. I said I'd run from you, but I was kidding. I know I might run from you, but I wouldn't run from Flair. Anyway, I says, and then they called me up and says, Jerry, Toledo's not doing so well. We better give it a rest. I just give it a rest. You guys aren't promoting your shows. You're not listening to anything I've got to say. I says, I was telling Terry Funk about it, and he says, if they'll just listen to you, we had Wojo. I know you heard of Wojo. I says, if you had Wojo wrestle Ric Flair in Toledo, you'd do $30,000, $40,000. Just have Flair on a badmouth Wojo, badmouth Toledo. So you guys have had all these nickel and dime second-rate promotions. Now WCW's here, and this Wojo, and he says, we can't have it. Wojo's not on our TV show. I says, make it a non-title match. Wojo, whatever you want to do. Wojo just wants the money too. It doesn't matter who's going to go over or anything like that. And Terry Funk said they must, that would have packed it. I said it wouldn't draw a dime in Houston, wouldn't draw a dime in Atlanta, wouldn't draw a dime in Charlotte, but it would have packed. So then I said, I'll tell you what I'll do. Your biggest house was $17,000. If you promote this and do the way I want to do, I'll give you $20,000 for the show. And they wouldn't take that either. I was going to offer to buy the show with $20,000 up front. Well, anyway, it was totally run by incompetence. The head man's name was Jim Hurd, I'm told. And I tried calling to get results. They had a real nice girl named Georgia answer the phone. And I couldn't get through to Jim Barnett. I couldn't get through to, I can't think of the other big shot, Jim Hurd, of course. I couldn't get through to him. And here comes the best one. Fox calls me, and they were running WCW and WWF. And they says, we just want one wrestling show. If you could have your guys call us, because it's you, Jerry, and you're here, we'll get rid of WWF. Nobody called them. I was begging. I couldn't get anybody to come to the phone. So they kicked WCW off there, and they called me up and they said, how can you let that happen? I mean, it goes on and on and on. The incompetence was mind-boggling.